One.
And we are live. Good evening, folks. Mogul Giza here with Friday Night Tech Talk. I am here with Ted, and
Hey.
His channel is called Ted Talks. It's a fairly new channel, but he's becoming quite active on it. So go give Ted Talks a follow, and welcome everybody. See if I can recognize who's in here. Nigel, of course, was first. Nigel's been in here since. Here goes my phone. It always kicks off. Nigel, of course, was. Okay. It always does that as soon as I start the broadcast. Right. Nigel was here at 5:47 p.m. Eastern Time.
Wow.
So he's always first. Tobes is in here. He was here at 6:05. Welcome, Tobes.
Hey, Tobes.
6, of course. 6. You're late again. Nigel beat you once again. And Eleanor is here. Welcome, Eleanor. Brian is here. Thank you, Brian. Brian's one of the best supporters of all of us.
Yeah, Brian is great.
Yep. And Steve Warman wasn't here, but he said he had to go to bed because it was 12:36 a.m. in Britain, where he is. NR is in here. And NR, I believe you're new, so welcome. And Xavier Downer is in here. I guess that's Will's son. So welcome everybody to Friday Night Tech Talk. You'll notice my backgrounds lately have been, I'm trying to make my backgrounds more of an expression of me. So right now what you're seeing in the background on the changing pictures is all the actual exercise machines, that not all of them, some of the exercise machines that I actually own. Yeah, I have a recumbent bike. I have an upright bike in the house. I have my heavy bag, which is, you'll see that go by. This set of weights that you're seeing behind me now is called the block. I have those for 20 years or so. There's my Trek bicycle that I take my 17-mile rides almost every day. Today I only made 15. There's the heavy bag that I use. So I'm just trying to make my background be more of an expression of me. So that's why you're seeing all the weights and all the stuff. So tonight, huh?
Oh, yeah, that's a good use of green screen.
Yeah, exactly. I love my green screen. So tonight we're going to go over some stories. Some of the stories we'll be going over. The iPhone 5G SE will probably be delayed. There's an iPhone security flaw that we're going to talk about, just a quick little story. And then we're going to look at a story that's a comparison between the OnePlus 8 Pro, the OnePlus 7 Pro, the OnePlus 7T, and the OnePlus 7T Pro. So that should be interesting. And there's another story that says, wait for the Pixel 4a over the iPhone XE, and we'll see what that's all about. And then we're going to talk about Huawei's first quarter growth, which didn't happen very much. And I'm sure you can understand why we'll be talking about that. And we'll talk about an Apple policy blocking contact tracing, which you remember we talked about last week. And it seems like France is having problems with Apple's policy, and it's causing their contact tracing app not to work. We're going to talk about the Apple Watch going from a fashion accessory to an essential fitness tool. And just a quick story about Fortnite now being available in the Play Store, because you remember last year they had the big fight with Google and they decided not to be in the Play Store. It looks like they've changed their minds and they decided to pay Google what Google wants. and the last story, if we get to all, exactly. But if we get to all these, the last story will be the COVID-19 theories of the most common misinformation in Great Britain. And if you remember, we discussed last week how people were burning down 5G towers because it causes COVID-19, which is ridiculous. But anyway, that was that. So the story we're going to start with tonight is called 5 Reasons to Buy and 3 Reasons to Skip the iPhone SE. If I can get the story to open up. I'm trying to open the link, and it says the site cannot be reached. My internet is up. Ted, see if you can bring that story up, because I'm having problems with that story.
What 5 reasons to buy an iPhone SE? Yep, and come on. No, I couldn't open the page. I don't think it's you.
Okay, I guess we're going to skip that story. It was there yesterday, I know that. All right, anyway, I'm sure everybody who wants to order the SE has probably already ordered it. So I know
if you haven't, if you go to visible.com, you can get the phone for $184.
That's right. I saw that article too. Are you getting one?
No, I have an iPhone 11. Why would I get one?
Exactly. And that's why I'm not getting one, because same as you. Got my iPhone 11 right here. I'm not about to go backwards. All right. So we'll move on to the next story we have, which is the iPhone 5G SE is probably going to be delayed. So let me see if I can get it pulled up on my computer. And if I can share the screen. Okay, and I will take this story. Okay, here we go. Let's see if I can make it bigger. No, I can't. All right. This is on The Verge. Some 5G iPhones and a new larger iPhone SE model could be delayed. iPhones that support the faster mmWave 5G have a potential delay risk. Some of Apple's iPhones, rumored to launch in the fall, and the larger iPhone SE model, apparently slated for 2021, could be delayed, according to Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo via Mac Rumors. This fall, Apple is rumored to launch as many as 4 phones that support 5G, and Kuo says that iPhones that support the faster mmWave 5G have a potential delay risk, according to Mac Rumors. In addition, mass production of the rumored 6.7-inch iPhone could be delayed until October, reports Kuo, which would mean that the model would release later than the typical iPhone launch timeframe in September. However, it's not unprecedented for Apple to stagger its fall iPhone releases. For example, in 2017, iPhone 10 was released in November, weeks after the other iPhone models. In 2018's iPhone 10R was released in October instead of September. The rumored 6.1-inch and 5.4-inch iPhones are expected to go into mass production in September, says Kuo. Apple's successors to the iPhone 11 Pro and iPhone 11 Pro Max are expected to have a new design with flat sides and will likely have a smaller notch. Additionally, Kuo says Apple is likely delaying the release of a larger iPhone SE from the first half of 2021 to the second half, according to Mac Rumors. That model will reportedly have a 5.5-inch or 6.1-inch full-screen design, but instead of using Face ID for biometric verification, it will use a Touch ID sensor that's integrated into the power button. I'm sure a lot of people will like that, Kuo said in the December report. Similar to the newly unveiled iPhone SE that Apple announced earlier this month. 9to5Mac found evidence of a 5.5-inch entry-level iPhone in iOS 14 code in March. But when Apple announced the second generation iPhone SE last week, it only showed off a 4.7-inch version, so the specific feature set, design, and potential launch date of this rumored 5.5-inch phone remains a mystery. So either way, I guess there's coming a 5G version of the SE and a larger iPhone SE, and both look like they're going to be delayed. But I'm sure many people will love the fact that it'll have Touch ID.
Yeah.
So anything special you want to say about it?
Basically, yeah. The only thing I really liked about the iPhone SE, the main thing that stuck out with me is the fact that it has Touch ID. Because, I use my iPad Pro 11 for pretty much about 80% of the thing I do. And the fact that it has Face ID, like that was a drawback. Face ID made me consider actually downgrading to the iPad Pro 10.5 to get Touch ID back.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I
don't get it,
haven't.
like, because whenever at night when I'm looking at this thing on the bed,
Right.
like I always have to do it 3 times before the Face ID actually works, because I'm either holding it, covering it with my hands, or because it's under the covers are blocking the camera.
That's interesting because I find with my iPhone 11, I don't care how dark it is, even if I'm in complete darkness, the light from the phone, it unlocks instantly every single time.
Yeah, the problem isn't the light. The problem is what obscures my face between the camera and my face. So it's either the covers, it's either my hands.
Okay.
It's maybe it's at an angle, because I lay down at odd angle, so I'm gonna just be at a diagonal. So it's never the first try.
Information about your sleeping habits. I like this.
It's never the first try.
Okay, all right. Yeah, because I've always been and I like Touch ID when last time I found my head was on the 6 Plus, but ever since I've had the iPhone 11, I absolutely love Face ID because it never misses. I mean, it nails it every single time.
On the iPhone, it's great. Like on my iPhone 11, I've never had a problem with Face ID, but it's the iPad that is just like, oh, no.
And of course, on my regular iPad, I have Touch ID, so I'm good with that.
Like I would take bezel if I could get Touch ID back. I would just give me the bezel if I can get Touch ID back.
Okay. And I think a whole lot of people feel exactly the same way you feel.
But as for the sell on the iPhone SE of 5G, I'm surprised that they're gonna give so many options on an iPhone SE. I think that Apple might just be cluttering that market share, because
they might be, but they really make a mistake. Come on now.
Because I assume if there's going to be a 5G model, it's going to cost more than the $4,399.
Absolutely.
And then
just
once you back it,
based on what Qualcomm charges for this thing, it's going to cost more.
And remember, iPhone always sells the previous models, so 2 models down. So I think there might be some price clashes depending on how they price the iPhone SE 5 Gen. Because right now, iPhone is selling the iPhone 11, the iPhone XR, and then the 8.
And the 8 and the SE.
Yeah, and now the SE. So I don't know, how is the SE is the SE 5G just gonna squeeze between the 8?
I don't know. But you would think they'd have the same price class between the 8 and the SE, but they seem to be okay with it. So I guess they're going to find a way to make it work. You see Brian's comment here? Face ID is ruined by that mask light. That's aimed at you, brother. All right. I am going to bring up the next.
You gotta have my time routine.
Okay. All right. I'm going to bring up the next story, which is the iPhone security flaw story. You mind reading that one?
I got you. Ooh.
Okay. All right. I got it up, so you can just read it when you're ready. This is from Digital Trends.
Yep, I see it. All right. Massive iPhone security flaw left millions of phones vulnerable to hacks. Over 1 billion iPhones are vulnerable to hackers, and iPads are susceptible too. And Apple is still working on a way to deploy its fix. The issue, which was discovered by cybersecurity company Zook Avraham, lies with Apple's Mail app, which leaves devices vulnerable to hackers, according to Reuters. Avraham found a malicious program was exploiting the bug as far back as January 2018, though he's not sure who was behind the program. He said iPhone owners who were affected were sent a blank email message that crashed the app and forced a reset. Owners didn't even have to open the message for the crash to happen, according to the Wall Street Journal. The Mail app, downloading it was enough. Hackers could then access the device's photos, contact, and other data. The vulnerability has left the Mail app susceptible to hackers, including the ability to see private messages. Abraham doesn't believe many people have been targeted by the malicious program. Apple said it's fixed the issue, but it hasn't yet widely deployed the patch via an update yet. Apple takes all reports. They fixed it, but they just haven't given it out yet.
Exactly.
It's when you have the Band-Aid, but you don't apply it.
Yeah, exactly.
And Apple takes all reports of security threats seriously, an Apple spokesperson said in an email Friday to Digital Trends. We have thoroughly investigated the research report and based on the information provided have concluded these issues do not pose an immediate risk to our users. The researcher identified 3 issues in Mail, but alone they are insufficient to bypass iPhone and iPad security protections, and we have found no evidence that they were used against customers. These potential issues will be addressed in a software update soon. We value our collaboration with security researchers to help keep our users safe and will be crediting the researcher for their assistance. Though Apple often touts the security of its products, this isn't the first vulnerability researchers have found this year. In February, software developers found a flaw in the Apple iOS copy and paste system. It affected both phones and iPads. If you hit copy on some text on your device, it will assume you wanted to paste it into the next app you open. But if you accidentally hit copy and you opened a different app, it would still be able to access whatever you copied. Essentially, any app or widget will be able to see whatever you had copied if you had opened it right after. Tommy Misk, one of the developers who found the problem, told Digital Trends that you can help combat the issue by disabling Universal Clipboard on your device. If you are worried about having the Mail app on your iPhone while waiting for Apple to deploy an update for the issue, you can always delete it. Patrick Waddle, a security researcher at Jamf Software LLC, told the Wall Street Journal that it's probably unnecessary as the malicious program seems very limited in reach at this point.
Which, yeah, because as soon as I saw it, I was like, wait, I haven't had any issues with Mail on my iPhone whatsoever. And
you use the Mail app on your iPhone?
Yes, I do.
Oh.
I gather you don't?
No. I'm always trying different email apps. Gmail, Sparkle, Vito. No.
Okay. I pretty much stick with Gmail. I use my regular mail at home, and I use the one on my mail on my Apple phone. That's pretty much it. So.
Oh, my MacBook. I have to check out the Mail app there.
Okay.
It won't affect it. I do, but it doesn't affect MacBooks, according to the article.
So it sounds like it's not very widespread at all. So my guess is that's why they haven't, found it necessary to right away rush out that update. But I got an update today or yesterday. Today on my iPhone 11. Did you?
An update? No, I hadn't checked.
Okay, yeah, I got one today and applied it, and I looked at it, and I didn't see anything mentioning that Mail vulnerability. So my guess is it's just not much of an issue. Anyway, yeah.
Brian is like, look at Brian.
So my guess is, yeah, I saw the story, and I said, well, I might as well include it, and it was only a little story anyway, but it sounds to me like it's just not much of an issue. So that's my guess.
It was the second vulnerability that got to me, the one where if you copy something in an app, the other app can see it.
Right. And to me, is that a big deal to you? It's not a big deal to me.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Make up your mind.
No. I want to know how they can see it. How can that other app see it? Like, I thought it's a system thing.
Yeah, but the other app is on your phone anyway. So how dangerous can it be? That's how I'm looking at it. Or am I not making sense?
Yeah, no, I'm not really that. It's not enough for me to disable universal
Exactly.
copy paste. That's for sure, because that's not going to happen. That's the whole point of this whole ecosystem.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I'm looking at some of the comments here. There's another comment from Brian. So the iPhone SE 5G can now be better than the regular XE, but not as good as the 11 or equivalent to it. I don't know. I don't think anybody can answer that question until the 5G SE comes out, is my guess. So he followed that comment up with this. Okay.
But I did hear that the iPhone SE is supposed to be underclocked to compare to the iPhone 11.
Oh, okay. That would make sense. And I'll bet you Brian probably heard that same thing based on that comment that he made. So that would make sense then, what he said.
That would make sense. But, an underclocked, what's it, the A13 Bionic is still going to be a heavy hitter.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah, the next phone I get right now, of course, the latest phone that I have is the Moto G Stylus.
What?
Yes, it's a cheap phone, but I am loving this phone. It takes
nice color.
Awesome daytime pictures. And for anybody who hasn't seen, a couple of hours ago, I put out, just for the heck of it, I put a video out of nighttime photos using night mode on the Moto G Stylus and the iPhone 11. So we're talking the best against a $300 budget phone. And I knew the iPhone was going to come out way ahead. But what I did, I put 6 pictures in the beginning of just the Stylus showing, okay, folks, this thing does pretty good for a $300 phone. And then I went on and did the comparison. And of course, the iPhone killed it, but the Moto G Stylus didn't do bad at all. And of course, I'll be doing many more comparisons with the Galaxy S20, and of course, I'll be comparing the Moto G Stylus against the Moto G7 Plus. So lots of comparisons to come, but I figure let's start off with the heavy hitter, and we'll move on from there. But I was kind of pleasantly surprised at how well the Stylus did, even though it has kind of a red hue in every single one of the nighttime photos. The funny thing was, the last picture I put in there, I put a front-facing selfie from each camera, and of course, there's no night mode on that. And they came out pretty close on that one. So I'll be doing a nighttime photos without night mode on both and see how that does.
Yeah, I'll definitely look forward to that one.
Yeah. Anyway, that one just came out a couple hours ago, and probably over the weekend I'll be doing some more comparisons. So just wanted to let you folks know it was there. So we're going to move on. Go ahead.
Is it me, or do these security flaws that Apple are having, do they seem to be growing more frequent? Because I think last year, was it the 1 2 years before where it was the FaceTime hacking? Oh no, it wasn't even a hack. It was a FaceTime vulnerability.
A vulnerability, yeah. And in my mind, I don't think they've been any more vulnerable than, well, certainly not as vulnerable as some of the Android phones, but I haven't noticed any increase in vulnerability that I've noticed. Of course, I miss a lot, so I could miss it, But it just seems like normal life. I mean, hackers are going to do their hacking, and occasionally they're going to get through. And I don't think Apple is any more exempt from that than anybody else. But I think, as far as I can remember, Apple still doesn't get hacked anywhere near as much as anybody else does. Am I wrong?
No, but that was the main selling point. Like, I remember it was the main selling point for Macs. Like, we don't get viruses, but now they're pretty much now part of the club since their user base has grown.
Yeah, and as your user base grows, well, that means you're bringing hackers along with you, So it kind of makes sense. Anyway, let's see. We got Max Tech Studios came in here. Welcome, Max. And glad to have you here. So we're about to move on to our third story of the evening. And this one, oh no, wait. First, I have to get rid of the one that I had, don't I? Okay.
The OnePlus comparison.
Yeah, next one is the big comparison. I forgot how long this is. A story, it's not that long.
It's not that long.
Yeah,
it's mostly chart.
Yeah, so I'm going to share the screen on this one, and I'm going to read it. And there's a big chart in this story, folks, showing the comparison. So I will be stopping at that chart and letting everybody take as good a look as I can. So this is on cnet.com, and it's the OnePlus 8 specs comparison. 8 Pro versus the OnePlus 7 Pro versus the OnePlus 7T versus the OnePlus 7T Pro. Here's how the new OnePlus 8 and 8 Pro stack up against the company's older phones. OnePlus has taken the wraps off two phones in its new 8 series, the OnePlus 8 and the flagship OnePlus 8 Pro. Both are available now, and we've already given them the full review treatment. As OnePlus CEO Pete Lau told us exclusively last month, both phones support 5G, which is one of the biggest additions to the range over the last year's 7 Pro, 7T, and 7T Pro. Expect faster internet speeds and lower latency as long as you're in an area that supports 5G and you have a compatible phone plan. Now, keep in mind, these phones, one of them works with millimeter wave, the others work with low band, but I guess they work. I won't be picking either one of them up, so you'll have to look around at other places to find out about them. The OnePlus 8 is the hero of the pair, coming with 4 cameras. There's a standard zoom, a super wide angle, an 8 megapixel telephoto camera, and a 5 megapixel color filter camera, which all the big guys seem to think is kind of useless, but that's just my observation. Which seems to allow you to take images with infrared style effects. It's one camera more than last year's range, which lacked the color filter, but were otherwise functionally similar. The front-facing camera is found in a cutout in the display rather than in a slide-out unit housed in the top edge. Some may see this as a step backwards. That's exactly how I see it. It's a 16 megapixel resolution remains unchanged, however. So there's the 7T Pro. Both the OnePlus 8 and 8 Pro pack the latest Qualcomm 865 chips. Both are available with up to 12 gigabytes of RAM and 256 gigabytes of storage. Both support fast charging. The 8 Pro adds fast wireless charging to the mix, and it's the first OnePlus phone to come with an IP68 rating, which is a big deal to a lot of people, meaning it's better protected against water and dust. Okay, so now here's the spec breakdown. So I'm letting this stay up there so you guys can see it. You got the OnePlus 8 here, OnePlus 8 Pro, OnePlus 7 Pro, OnePlus 7T, OnePlus 7T Pro. It shows you display resolutions on all of them, pixel density on all of them. And I thought it was funny that the pixel density on the OnePlus 7T Pro and 7 Pro are the two highest, both higher than the new phones. You've got the dimensions in inches and millimeters.
Because they're smaller, so it would be higher.
Exactly. Your weights, Android 10 on, of course, the 8s. Android 10 on OnePlus 7T, 7T Pro, and you still have Android 9 on the 7 Pro. And I don't know that that's true. Oh, that's right. I did the beta, so I have 10 on the 7 Pro already. So you don't want to go by me. And you've got the camera comparison, the specs for the cameras at least. Front-facing.
I think it's misleading in the chart. I think on the OnePlus 8, it uses a different sensor compared to the OnePlus 8 Pro.
Right. The OnePlus 8 Pro uses a higher sensor than the regular 8, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that is kind of misleading. You're absolutely right. Front-facing camera, it looks like it's the same camera on all 5 of them. You know, video capture 4K. And, of course, the 2 new ones have the 865, and the other 3 have an 855, meaning the 2 new ones can support 5G.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you've got 128, 256 across the board, except for the 7T. And no expandable storage, of course. The battery sizes are here. Fingerprint sensor, in-screen, in-screen, in-screen optical, in-screen and in-screen. So the only one that has an in-screen optical is the OnePlus 7 Pro, which is
So what do the rest of them use? They use that. They use the thing that Samsung does, with the vibration motor.
I guess so. See, I have the Pro, and I have the optical. So I guess they must all use the one that Samsung uses, which is what I think most people use. Anyway,
I think it was Samsung. I thought Samsung's the one that tries to be different and uses the vibration thing. And at first I thought that was good, but theirs is the most finicky one
out the bunch.
Yeah.
What I'm finding with my S20 is the fingerprint sensor works, I'd say 95% of the time, but the Face ID, facial recognition, I'd say 60%. That's about all you're going to get. Because often I pick up the S20 to my face, and I'd say 40% of the time it doesn't recognize my face at all, and I end up having to use my fingerprint. So it's kind of disappointing there on a $1,000 phone,
Now, George, on the chart, you can scroll to the right, and there's two more phones.
There is two more phones? I didn't even...
The 7T Pro and the 7T McLaren edition.
Oh, the McLaren edition is there? I didn't even see that. Now, can I scroll to the right?
So to give you some perspective, in 2 years so far, OnePlus has released 6 phones. Yeah. And if they're going to go with that current trends, that means within 2 years they'll release 8 smartphones.
Yeah, that would make sense.
That's a lot. That's a lot of smartphones.
Okay. I can't figure out how to get. Okay, here it is. Oh. There we go. Okay, now we're back up. Yeah, and there's the McLaren edition. Okay. Sorry I missed that, folks. But of course, you can go to cnet.com and take a look at this comparison for yourself. But they certainly are comparing everything, even though they were a little misleading about the camera sensors. But anyway, just wanted to let you guys see that there is a huge comparison, and if you really want to break down the specs of each one of these phones, there it is. And maybe it'll help you to decide whether you want the 2 new phones, which are the more expensive phones, or whether you want the 7T, the 7T Pro, the 7 Pro, or the 7T McLaren edition, which is also very expensive. Oh, and let's look at the... Okay, I thought, see, the McLaren edition uses the 855 Plus, and I believe, doesn't that support 5G, or am I wrong?
Yep, that's the one that supports 5G.
Okay, so that's why the McLaren edition is so expensive, but that's like $900 or $950, at least when it came out. Mm-hmm. So anyway, folks, just wanted you to see that there's a pretty nice comparison out there, so you can really compare the specs before you make any kind of buying decision. So I just thought that was a good article to let people know what's out there.
Yeah. I actually like OnePlus phones. I feel like, by nature, since they're all geared up for speed, that I should naturally buy one. But Tom, to be honest, like, if I'm going to get a phone with that doesn't have a headphone jack, that's an Android, I might as well just get an iPhone.
Okay. So you've never
I've never had one. The year that I thought I would have one, 2016,
right?
I got an Axon 7 instead.
Okay.
And I had that for 2 years.
And me too.
So you know how that went.
Yeah, I still have mine. Right now, if Rita has the 60, I had the 7 Pro. So I love OnePlus phones. I just had to choose. Okay, what do I want to spend my money on? I got a little fascinated by the Moto G stylus for only $300, and I knew it was kind of between the OnePlus 8 or the Pixel 4a, so I'm probably going to get the Pixel 4a whenever it comes out. And of course, between the Moto G stylus and the Pixel 4a, well, those 2 phones together won't cost as much as the OnePlus 8 Pro anyway. So.
And remember, with the OnePlus, there's always a new one 5 or 6 months down the road. So.
And the first 2 years that I bought one, I bought the 5T and I bought the 6T. I skipped the May phone. Well, originally it was the June phone. So maybe I'll do the same thing. And maybe I'll end up getting the 8T. Let's see what happens.
Maybe. Anything can happen.
Because the new iPhone will be out by then, and so then there's more decisions and more temptation. And you know how that goes.
Yeah. But what you said about the color filter, how the people say like it's kind of useless.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually provide any value, but like on an actual cameras, like people do pay like hundreds of dollars to put a color filter on top of their sensor.
Okay. So, I just noticed that MKBHD and 3 or 4 of the other big YouTubers, they seem to think not much about it, So
I mean, like it's a low resolution to begin with, so
right.
To be honest, like if OnePlus gave me the choice, like, hey, for like an extra $30, $20, you get this color filter.
Right.
It would either have to be on top of the main megapixel, the 48 megapixel sensor, or don't save me the $30 or $20, whatever.
Yeah, that makes some sense, at least. Yeah. All right. Our next story, this is going to be for you, Ted. All right, I'm going to share my screen. This is about why you should wait for the Pixel 4a, in their opinion.
Because it has a better camera for less. You get more for less.
We're going to find out. All right, whenever you're ready. This is on Forbes.com.
Written by Jay McGregor.
There you go. He even gets the accent right. Good for you.
The iPhone SE 2020's arrival this week almost certainly caused a bit of a mild panic at Google HQ. Alongside contending with 2 new OnePlus devices and a hastily launched Galaxy S10 Lite, Apple has dramatically slashed the price of its retro-looking budget phone. As I write in an article this week, the power of Apple's brand is absolute. In the Pixel and Android forums I regularly scanned, there were clear signs of mutiny. Long-standing Pixel fans were openly expressed their desire to switch to Apple because of how affordable the new iPhone is. Clearly, the financial barrier to entry for Apple's tech had been working in Google's favor until now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean all is lost for the upcoming mid-range Pixel 4a. If there is one thing you can count on when it comes to Pixel phones, is that they will be heavily and repeatedly discounted for their entire 12-month run.
That's true. Individual
retailers cut prices because Google does too. The Pixel 4 and the Pixel 4L released last October were discounted by $200 for Black Friday a month later. They were further price cuts in the run-up to Christmas, and just last week, Target and Amazon caught the cost of the Pixel and Pixel 3a.
That's true.
It has been this way for all Pixel launchers. For Apple's tech, it's the complete opposite, which typically holds its value resolutely until the next release. I expect similar treatment for the Pixel 4a, so it's worth not only waiting for the handset release, but also waiting for a month or so after launch to see what deals emerge. I also wouldn't be surprised if Google drops the launch price to be more competitive with Apple. Isn't that a crazy thing to say? To be more competitive with Apple.
They're trying. I've never figured out if they're trying to compete with Apple.
Or perhaps it offers some freebies with the 4a, like a discounted pair of upcoming Pixel Buds or a free Nest device, which Google has done in the past.
Sure.
On raw abilities, I suspect Google's Pixel 4a will best the iPhone's SE camera. Google didn't include the Pixel newer core in last year's Pixel 3a, which is a large part of why Pixel phones take such good still photos. But Google promised a Pixel 3-like structure, and it didn't disappoint. We will certainly see the same this year, which is good news considering the excellence of the Pixel 4 snapper. I am also keen to see what Pixel-exclusive assistant features Google launches alongside the 4a. Last year, Pixel 4 came with the Recorder app, which automatically transcribes recordings a necessity for journalists, and live captions, which automatically transcribes muted videos, a lifesaver on public transport. This eventually made it over to the Galaxy S20 as well. It's these small, unique additions that can make a huge difference to your day-to-day smartphone usage. Google has done well in recent years to focus on improving real-world experience of using a smartphone with devices like Duplex and the aforementioned apps, rather than more gimmicky tech like AR. There's certainly more to come. Google I/O is canceled this year, but the search company will have updates on what it has been working on, which might appear as a blog post alongside the announcement of the Pixel 4a. We live in an unusual, uncertain time, so shouldn't be a surprise that tech companies are responding appropriately by dropping prices. Apple's move is likely the first of many hastily changed pricing strategies for upcoming phones as economies tumble and people pay packets diminish. Smartphone manufacturers still need to sell phones. In lieu of making as much money as possible from the upfront handset costs, they'll happily settle for customers buying into their ecosystems at a discounted rate. There are big launches coming from Samsung, Apple, OnePlus, Sony, and LG later this year, and I imagine COVID-19 has changed a lot of plans. Google is first up with the Pixel 4a, so we'll see how it reacts to the outbreak and Apple's newly discounted iPhone, but the given announcement is likely only a month away. I'd wait to see what Google produces.
Yep. And right now, I'm planning to get the 4a. But yeah, if it can beat the iPhone 11, that's what I'm kind of waiting to see. Because right now, the best picture phone I have, and video for that matter, is the iPhone 11.
No, the article mentioned something about, your companies want us to go into their ecosystem at discounted prices.
Right.
Well, let's see what Apple offers you into their ecosystem. If you get you pay $400, you get the iPhone SE, you get a great handset that will surely perform, and it'll be supported by Apple for who knows, at least 5 years. That's to say, at least 5 years, 5 to 6 years exactly.
Yep.
And then you get Apple TV for 1 year, right?
Right.
And then I think with Apple Music, you get that free for like 3 months.
Yeah, I never went into the Apple Music, but I'm still using TV.
And then 2 gigabytes like iCloud and whatever.
Right.
But yeah, so you get those things. With Pixel devices, what do you get?
You get unlimited upload to Google Photos. That's all that I know of.
Not anymore. Well, all phones get that. It used to be with Pixel devices, you get unlimited uploads at full resolution from your Pixel phone.
Right.
But with the Pixel 4, they stopped that.
Okay.
So they took that away, actually.
I still had that with the 3A, but I didn't get the 4.
Yeah, the Pixel 4 doesn't have that. So Google 15 gigabytes of Google Drive? Like what ecosystem do you get into with Google besides, the standard like the Gmail, the YouTube that you can experience on any other device?
Right, that's true. Yeah, Gmail I'd say is the main thing, and
but you can get that on any device.
But
you can get that on
Google Drive too.
Like that's what I get on this iPhone right now. I use the Gmail app, and surprise, the Gmail app is better supported. Like it's more updated, faster than on the Google side.
Okay, that's
like the Gmail app.
Developers always develop for iPhone first. That makes sense.
Like Google apps on iPhone got dark mode quicker than on the Google side.
That's true. Yep.
So if it's an ecosystem game, if it's a phone game, maybe Pixel stands a chance, in terms that it takes better photos. But if it's an ecosystem war, then Google's at a disadvantage.
Google's going to be at a disadvantage because developers always develop first for the iPhone. They always do.
No. There's one thing that Google has. The Home Minis, the Google Home Assistants that they just give out like candy.
Google goes away a lot.
But that's it.
And I like that. Yeah, if they give away the Pixel Buds, I would love to get a hold of it. I haven't had any Pixel Buds yet.
I have forgot about those.
I would love to have those.
Are those on the market, the Pixel Buds, or no?
As far as I know, they are, yeah. But,
oh, okay.
Okay.
I haven't heard a thing.
Yeah, I just wasn't interested in getting them because I have so many buds. But
yeah, same here.
And I never even got around to getting the OnePlus earbuds, and everybody raves about them. I just never got around to them. Yeah. Which I probably will one of these days.
Hey, are you guys seeing this ad on top of my thing? Turn iPhone in. What is that? Are you guys seeing the caption? Okay, you're seeing.
Oh, the Mac
oh
PC.
My God.
Yeah, that's on you. That's not coming from
oh my
here.
God. Yeah.
From
I'm using this thing called I'm using an app on my iPhone to let me use it like a webcam.
Okay.
So I got
so go with it. Now it just disappeared.
Yeah, but so I'm using the free version. I guess on the paid version, which is like $8, they don't show that, but it looks like after that. But after this, I'm gonna buy the app, the paid app, because it's actually performing very well.
Yeah, I mean, of the test that we ran in the half an hour before we started, this is by far the best setup.
Yeah, just because otherwise you'd have to, if you wanted to use your camera, like an actual camera, you'd have to buy that HDMI capture card, and those are like in the hundreds of dollars.
Yep.
Or you just pay $8. You download drivers and you just connect it. You just connect a USB-C cable to your iPhone, and there you go.
Yep.
Full HD quality.
And now you're showing people that it works well, which is great. All right, we're going to move on to the next story, and that is going to involve Huawei. No surprises here. All right, I'll take this one. This one is Android Authority, and Huawei revenue growth slows massively. Company calls it resilience. No surprise here, I'll tell you that. Huawei has just announced its Q1 2020 revenue, and the company isn't overly thrilled with the results amid U.S. bans and COVID-19 problems. But those two together will really do it for you. Interestingly, the company actually announced that it saw a 1.4% year-on-year increase in Q1 revenue, which shows how much growth Huawei expected to earn versus how much it actually generated. I was shocked that they had any kind of increase, so I think they're doing pretty good considering.
Yeah.
In total, the company generated CNY 182.2 billion, translates to 25.72 billion in revenue. While seeing a 1.4% increase sounds acceptable, a year ago, the company showed a staggering 39% growth. I remember that, putting the much smaller growth in 2020 into perspective. However, the company's report also said the results of Q1 2020 were in line with expectations, which means Huawei wasn't expecting the same sort of growth this year. Well, smart people. The profit margin also shrunk slightly, coming in at 7.3%. Last year, Huawei generated a profit margin of just about 8%. While not a huge difference, most companies look to see profit margins increase year on year, so it's understandable why the firm is disappointed in the results. While the margins are solid, Huawei didn't disclose a dollar amount for its net profit. Perhaps seeing huge losses on the excess Mate could be part of the company's problem. I'm sure they lost a lot there. Unfortunately, one of the most interesting pieces of data was omitted from the Q1 2020 revenue report, and that's the number of handsets sold throughout Q1 of 2020. Both COVID-19 and bans from the U.S. are major reasons for the company seeing lower than expected revenue and profits. In May, the U.S. placed Huawei on the blacklist. The government cited security concerns, which caused it to limit sales of U.S. goods to Huawei. That, along with the strained COVID-19, not 91, is placing on the world's economy, is hurting most companies, and Huawei is certainly no exception. Hey, I'm not the only one that makes typing errors. In spite of the issues, Huawei also said that its business is continuing as usual. Sounds like they're doing pretty good to me. which should mean the company is able to deliver devices at a rate that's able to keep up with demand in spite of the current state of affairs. The company donated millions of protective masks to countless countries across Europe, which some people thought was done with an ulterior motive. Huawei Vice President Victor Zahn shrugged off these claims, though. Huawei closed out its Q1 2020 revenue report with a brief glimpse into the company's mindset regarding the pandemic. The release said, even though it's impossible to know when the tides of this pandemic will turn, we at Huawei believe that this challenge will be overcome by standing together. Okay. So to me, overall, they're not doing bad considering they've got two strikes against them, COVID-19 and their ban. Yeah. So I think they're doing pretty good considering. And when they said they give all those protective masks to countries and people say it's an ulterior, you tell me a country that doesn't do something and let everybody know it because of an ulterior motive. Every company does that. They don't do it for anybody else, you know. I mean, the article makes it sound like, well, they have an ulterior. Yeah, and so does Ford, and so does Apple. And
everybody. Everybody needs a publicity now.
Exactly. So otherwise, why would they be shouting to everybody every time they do something good? You know.
Yeah.
One of the things I like most about Frank Sinatra, even besides the fact that he was a homeboy for me, he was born in the next town from me, was that Sinatra always did everything he could to keep whatever he did for somebody quiet. And sometimes it got out, but it never got out because of him. I admired that. Yeah. If companies thought that way, it would be really nice, but they're not about to. So I'm not about to hold it against them for letting us know that they gave out masks.
You gotta share. Kind of have to share some stories now about what Frank Sinatra did, because I didn't hear anything because he kept it so mum.
Yeah, he did. He did. I remember back when this was in the early '60s, I think, he found out that Joe Louis was broke, and Frank owned a part of the Sands at that point. He gave Joe Louis a job as a greeter in the Sands for the rest of his life. And when it came out, he was really pissed off because he did not want anybody to know that he had done that. You know, that was the kind of guy he was, which I admired him. You know.
I don't know if I would want a boxer at a greeter right at the door.
From everything I've ever read about Joe Louis, you know, he was just a sweetheart of a guy. He was no, what's his name, the crazy one still around, smoke all the pot.
Mike Tyson?
He was no Mike Tyson. Kind of the opposite personality. So, and
imagine Benihana's and Mike Tyson's right there to greet you.
Yeah. That would make me run out of the casino real quick, you know. Oh, I see you're posting interesting questions. There you go. For me, it's Google. For you, I gather it's Apple?
Yeah, I don't know. For me, you know, I think Amazon would probably take the cake as long as they had a phone or they made better tablets.
They had a phone. Now, I will take Google's ecosystem, but if you ask me which company I would take Amazon, which I think is the best company by far of the three.
Because, you know, as far as the ecosystem, Amazon has, you know, the entire market that's Amazon. Right. They have Amazon they have the Prime Video. Right. They have Prime Photos, which is a great photo service that uploads all your photos in,
they also have by far the largest web services in the world.
Exactly. If you ever want to, like, you know, build a website with them, they can host it, certainly. So they have the personal idea there. They also have Kindle and then Audible, like if they try again to make another smartphone, like, and then put all their markets, their ecosystem behind that, and as well with the Alexa, it could be a problem.
Yeah, there's always rumors that they might start another phone, and I'm thinking if they did, I don't see them failing again. That's just my guess. But I never bought the other phone because it was such a flop, and I can't imagine them doing that again. You know, not making another phone. I can't imagine them failing again.
Yeah, the Fire Phone. I thought about the Fire Phone when it was heavily discounted to like $300, and they were giving
Right.
Prime away for 2 years. That's when I was like, let me check this out.
Before I
That's when I was.
retired, before I retired from programming at Blue Cross, my immediate boss had a Fire phone that he got for his son. He raved about that phone all the time. He just loved it. You know, so that's all I know about it. You know. Okay, moving on. Next one. Okay, this one I thought was interesting. This is the
Bluetooth
Apple.
tracing.
Yeah, this story was interesting. Now, if you remember, folks, last week we shared the story of Google and Apple combining for contact tracing, which would help with people being aware of the coronavirus around them and who they've been in contact with. So this story was very, very interesting. So Ted, this is all on you, and this story is on CNET.com also.
By Katie Collins.
Yep.
You got a pretty face.
So Apple's Bluetooth policy is blocking contact tracing app, France says.
France needs Apple to help implement the next stage of its plan to tackle the coronavirus, but negotiations reportedly aren't going well. For the most up-to-date, the widely touted next step in tackling the coronavirus spread is a series of phone apps known as contact tracing apps that are being developed by many governments around the world. But France, which is hoping to release its app in May, says there's one big obstacle standing in its way: Apple. More specifically, the tech giant's Bluetooth and privacy policies. French government ministers have been in talks with Apple over Bluetooth restrictions but aren't making any progress. Digital Minister Cedric O told Bloomberg in an interview published this week, "We're asking Apple to lift the technical hurdle to allow us to develop a sovereign European health solution that will help be tied our health system."
There you go.
The hurdle in question is that Apple doesn't allow apps to constantly use Bluetooth running in the background if data from that app is going to be removed from the device. It is a policy put in place to protect the privacy of device owners, but it's also a central component of many contact tracing apps, which uses Bluetooth to keep track of the people a phone owner has come in contact with. When asked for a comment, a spokesman for Apple pointed to its response to Bloomberg, which it told to refer to its joint effort on contact tracing apps with Google. Apple and Google together are developing a platform that'll enable contact tracing apps to use Bluetooth, but it's not clear why this isn't compatible with France's plan.
You good?
The National Health Service, has always been having trouble gaining Apple and Google support for its own contact tracing app project. The plans of most European countries to build a contact tracing apps predate Apple and Google's announcement. Most are built on the European Privacy-Preserving Proximity Tracing Platform, a framework designed to ensure apps meet Europe's high privacy standards. Contact tracing is a method of identifying who infected have interacted with in order to track and slow down the spread of disease. Traditionally, this has been a manual process involving patient interviews, but many countries are now hoping that the technology can shoulder this burden if large swaths of their populations can be persuaded to download apps that mimic the manual process and inform individuals if they need to isolate. In Europe, contact tracing apps are being viewed by leaders as an essential tool for helping to ease lockdown restrictions and allow greater freedom of movement. But privacy concerns and technological restrictions could well hamper the efforts of governments to get their apps out in the world. French politicians are due to debate its contact tracing app on April 27 before it's released in mid-May, when the country is also expected to lift lockdown restrictions that have been in place since March.
Okay, the only thing I didn't get in this story, when they said it's not clear how this interferes with France's plans, because it's pretty clear to me. Apple's policy says they don't want it interacting with apps when it's going to be used off the phone. But if you're going to have a contact tracing app, well, obviously some probably government entity is going to have to collect that data if they're going to try to keep people safe. So I don't see how you cannot understand why Apple's policy, would interfere with that. Of course it would. But in my opinion, it seems like Apple could do an offshoot, write a separate piece of code for them or whatever other countries are going to use the contact tracing app and keep their normal policy in place on the rest of the stuff. Wouldn't that make sense to you?
Yeah, but I'm kind of confused how the government gets involved in this, because I'm guessing with the contact tracing app,
well,
it's only in play when somebody gets infected,
right?
And then once they're infected, how exactly are the other people known? Isn't it up to that other person to let other people know, or?
Well, it's up to something to let other people. I think they're saying they don't want it to be a manual process, so it's got to go. To me, it's got to go somewhere to some server and then send it out to the people they've been in contact with. But in America, they don't want our government collecting this stuff. And okay, in America, we won't collect this stuff. But obviously, France wants to do it the way Israel's doing it, the way China's doing it. They want to collect the data. Well, if their politicians are okay with that, then to me, Apple should, write a separate piece of code for them. That's how I see it. What do you think?
Yeah, true. If France's citizens are okay with it.
Yeah, and if their representatives are okay with it, then, well, that basically says France is okay with it. So, I don't see what else you can do. So I don't see why it's such a, obviously they're saying that Apple will not change the policy. And it seems to me, give France their own app with their own policy. I would think that would be the answer. So,
I know with iPhone, I know Apple already makes concessions with China in terms of their messaging app and their FaceTime app.
Yeah, well, everybody, the NBA makes concessions with China. I mean, everybody that money, But in the past, I've admired Apple's stance against the FBI, with breaking into their phones. But in this case, if you're saying you're going to work with a country, then you need to work with the country. That's just my opinion.
Because it doesn't have to be an indefinite thing. Just make it a one app in particular, and just give it that permission, and then just time code it, only 30 days, and then it just self-destruct.
I would think it would have to be more like 6 months, is my guess, considering what they're expecting with the second or third wave of COVID-19. But in any case, yes, you could put some kind of time code on it, and if other companies in Europe want it, well, then you give them the same piece of code. That's all. You just don't bring it to America. You don't bring it to England. You don't bring it to Canada or any country that doesn't want the government collecting it. But if the people are okay with the government collecting it and it makes people safer, I say give them the code. Just my opinion. Okay. Next story. Okay. Okay, now we're going to talk about the Apple Watch. And I think this story is absolutely on point.
Yeah, this is the story for you.
Yeah, it's certainly on point for me.
Which watch do you have?
I have the Apple Watch 3, which I don't feel any need to have a 4 or 5. It's just, I love my Apple Watch 3. From the day I got it, I have never put another. I have 5 other fitness watches, fitness bands and watches. I haven't put anything else on but this watch since the day I got it, and it's been Christmas of 2018 that I got this thing.
Yeah. 2017, the only smartwatch I ever had was the ZTE Quartz. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh, I love my ZTE Quartz. I still have it. I just haven't put it on. My Apple Watch.
But yeah, I think that was a smartwatch I got to let me know that smartwatches aren't really for me. I'm more traditionalist.
I loved my ZTE Quartz, and it was my favorite of the watches I had until I got the Apple Watch. And Will was right all along. He kept telling me, boy, was he right. So this story is on.
Hey,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. So, like, what's the standout thing? Like, as a techie thing, like, you can take calls and all that stuff, or specifically about fitness?
The calls are a bonus for me, but yeah, fitness-wise, I've had 2 Fitbits, I've had a Garmin, and I've had the Moto G60, and I've had the ZTE Quartz, and another one which I can't even think of at the moment. This one, as far as fitness, it does a better job than all of them put together, in my opinion. And
even the Fitbit.
Yeah, even the Fitbit, yes. The Fitbit isn't even close to this, in my opinion. And the fact that when I get a call on my iPhone, and yes, it has to be within range, but the range is a long way. I can be 3 rooms away and talk to somebody on this watch. And I have specifically asked people a number of times, can you tell I'm talking on the watch? No, they can't tell because it's that clear. So
wow,
I just love this thing. All right, so we're on CNET again. How Apple Watch went from fashion accessory to fitness must-have. On the 5th anniversary, I didn't even realize it would have been 5 years already. On the 5th anniversary of Apple's first smartwatch, we take a look at devices evolution. A $17,000 model, a fitting appointment, a cover spread on Vogue. The Apple Watch was more than just a fitness tracking device when it debuted 5 years ago. It was a fashion item and status symbol. It was a luxury on your wrist. Fast forward to 2020, the 5th anniversary of Apple's smartwatch. Millions of people around the globe wear Apple Watches to remind them to stand doing meetings, take time to breathe, and get in one last workout for the day. Once a fashion accessory, the Apple Watch is now an essential tool for health and fitness. 2 things I do not need this watch for is to stand and to breathe, because I'm unusual because I'm an exercise fanatic. I don't worry about such things. The ubiquity of the Apple Watch doesn't mean it's lost its appeal to the fashion conscious. Last year, the Apple Watch outsold the entire Switch watch industry, by a huge margin, according to Strategy Analytics. That's a pretty big selling point. Wow. Apple shipped an estimated 31 million units in 2019, while all Switch watch brands combined accounted for 21 million shipments. The research firm said Apple doesn't detail how many watches it sells each year, but said it generated $24.5 billion in revenue in its latest fiscal year from its category that includes the Apple Watch and AirPods. So kind of confusing there. There was a 41% jump. That was a 41% jump from fiscal 2018. Swiss companies like Swatch are losing the smartwatch wars, Strategy Analytics said. You think? They aren't alone. When the Apple Watch came out 5 years ago, every major company in tech and a lot of new startups seemed to be making a watch or a fitness band. That's true. The list included Samsung, Sony, Fitbit, Pebble, Misfit, Jawbone, and various other companies. Some of them, like Samsung, still sell smartwatches, but others, like Pebble, were acquired and have gone out of business. And the Switch watch brands, some of which are trying to go digital, are struggling to compete. The window for Switch watch brands to make an impact in smartwatches is closing, analyst Steve Walter said. Time may be running out for Swatch, Tissot, Tag Heuer, and others. For Apple, the watch has turned into one of its most successful products, even though the business is nowhere near the size of its hugely popular iPhone. The Apple Watch still requires Apple's smartphone to run with limited functionality on its own. And it has more to do when it comes to being a standalone health tracker. Still, Apple managed to do what seemed nearly impossible 5 years ago: find another hit product. High stakes. With Apple's huge position in smartwatch sales today, it's easy to forget how it all started. When the company unveiled the first Apple Watch in September 2014, success wasn't guaranteed. The device wouldn't reach consumers' wrists for 7 months, which gave nimble rivals time to respond. It wasn't clear why anyone actually needed a smartwatch or what a smartwatch would do once people had one. For Apple CEO Tim Cook, the Apple Watch was a major test. He needed to show that his company could still create lust-worthy must-have products in new categories without Steve Jobs at the helm. Apple's last totally new hit product was 2010's iPad, which was ushered to the market by Jobs before he died the following year. When introducing the first Apple Watch, Cook called it a breakthrough product and described it as a comprehensive health and fitness device, walkie-talkie, and remote control for Apple TV streaming box, among many other capabilities. The device is the most personal device we've ever created, he said at the time. Because you wear it, we invented new intimate ways to connect and communicate directly from your wrist. The first model came with multiple band options, 2 watch sizes, 42 millimeter or 38 millimeter, and 3 designs: the aluminum case Apple Watch Sport, the stainless steel case Apple Watch, and the 18-karat gold case Apple Watch Edition. The aluminum came in silver or space gray options, while the stainless steel came in its namesake color or space black version. The gold watch, which was available in 18-karat gold or 18-karat rose gold. The entry-level device, the aluminum and glass Apple Watch Sport with plastic band, started at $349. The premium gold Apple Watch Edition started at $10,000 and went as high as $17,000. To sell the very personal device, Apple tapped former Burberry CEO Angela Adrens. She joined the company as head of retail in April 2014 and quickly got to work transforming the store experience. When it came to Apple Watch, she drew for her time running a luxury fashion brand. In the beginning, you couldn't walk into a store and buy an Apple Watch like you would an iPhone or iPad. Would-be Apple Watch buyers had to make appointments to see the gadget in Apple stores during the pre-order period. I didn't know that. And sales were made through a reservation system. It became an instant hit. Some analysts estimated more than 2 million Apple Watches were pre-ordered in the 2 weeks leading up to the device's April 24th debut. All other smartwatch vendors combined shipped only 4.6 million devices in all of 2014, according to Strategy Analytics. Today, you can walk into an Apple store and try on any model you want, and you don't have to buy a watch with a band that's been pre-selected by Apple. In September, Apple, with a new head of retail at the helm, launched its Apple Watch Studio experience, which lets you mix and match watches and bands to match your personal taste. It works both in store and online. With the Apple Watch Series 4 in 2018, Apple changed the size of its watch to make the screen size bigger, but the overall device thinner. The current Apple Watch sizes are 40 millimeter and 44 millimeter. It didn't take Apple long to scrap its luxury Apple Watch offering. That $17,000 model was gone by the second generation. Last year, Apple brought back its Apple Watch Edition, but the 5th generation device is made of titanium or ceramic, not 18-karat gold. It tops out at $1,749 for the 44 millimeter white ceramic version and the space black link bracelet band. And Hermes edition tops out at $1,499. The new Apple Watch Series 5 with an always-on display starts at $399, but you can buy the older Apple Watch Series 3 for as little as $199. The Apple Watch has changed from luxury to something that's very useful, creative strategist analyst Carolina Milanese said. Yeah, I listen to her every week. She's on a podcast that I listen to every week. Not quite a full computer. Well, when the Apple Watch first came out, it was viewed as a mini phone on your wrist. It launched with 3,000 apps, more than the 1,000 Apple initially expected, varying from fitness tracking to messaging and trivia. Didn't know they had trivia. And it required a companion iPhone to operate. At the time, App Store analyst company App Figures believed the Apple Watch store would grow to about 1,000 apps within the following year. that reality isn't even close. Today, there are about 20,000 apps that work on the Apple Watch. Wow. Most of them require an iPhone for full functionality, serving as extensions of Apple's popular smartphone. The App Store for the 13-year-old iPhone, by comparison, has about 2 million apps. Companies like Google, Amazon, eBay, Google, twice, okay, Target, and TripAdvisor removed support for the Apple Watch apps a couple of years after launch, and initially nobody noticed they were gone. I find that hilarious. Nobody even noticed it. Apple itself has made 22 apps for its watch, and those tend to be the most accessed items on the Apple Watch, analysts say. That goes back to what people used to watch for, checking weather, tracking fitness, and reading quick notations like messages. All of those capabilities come from Apple-made apps, making it unnecessary to have third-party apps for many functions. There's been nothing like an iOS app ecosystem for the watch. Technalysis research analyst Bob O'Donnell. He's the guy who runs the show that I listen to every week, and Carolina Milanese is always on with him. So I listen to both of them every week. For the most part, you're going to use all of the Apple stuff and one or two other things, and that's about it. Those one or two things tend to be messaging, fitness, or music. Globally, the most downloaded third-party mobile apps with Apple Watch functionality are Facebook Messenger, Ding Talk, and Spotify. I'm surprised about Messenger, according to App Annie, a mobile insights and analytics provider. Health and fitness push. Fitness and health have been part of the Apple Watch since the beginning through its popular activity tracking and workout apps, but instead of many features, they're now often center stage. They are for me, I know that. Today, the new Apple Watches can track your swim strokes and your menstrual cycle and tell you if the noise around you could hurt your hearing. They're cleared by the U.S. Federal Drug Administration to conduct electrocardiograms, also known as EKGs or ECGs, to detect abnormal heartbeats. And Apple is working with organizations on several research studies that let you share your Apple Watch and iPhone data to improve health. In 2018, it partnered with Johnson & Johnson's pharmaceutical brand Janssen on research to improve heart health among people 65 and older. It has now expanded research, hearing, women's health, and the correlation between physical activity and heart health. Apple in 2017 also introduced a cellular version of the Apple Watch, letting people do things like make calls or access the internet away from their phones. That's particularly popular with users going for a run without taking a phone. And last year, it finally introduced an app store that lives on the watch itself, instead of requiring an iPhone to download iOS apps that are compatible with the Apple Watch. That lets watch users install third-party apps right from the wrist, and some developers now have built-in Apple Watch-only apps like the game Tube Snake. Building on health and fitness and independence from the phone are big opportunities for future versions of the Apple Watch. Apple still hasn't moved away from the device as a companion to the iPhone. It doesn't work with iPads or Apple Touch devices, limiting its update to iPhone users. But making a more independent Apple Watch, by making a more independent Apple Watch, Apple would instantly expand the user base, including with children, if it makes its rumored Kids Edition. Adding more sensors, including the holy grails of glucose and blood pressure monitors, will turn the Apple Watch into a full-blown health tracker. And then there's sleep tracking, which has been rumored for years but has never materialized. 5 years ago, the Apple Watch launched as an extension of the iPhone. 5 years from now, we may have trouble remembering they were ever connected at all. So I have nothing but good things to say about it, and it seems like they're doing a pretty phenomenal job, if you ask me.
Yeah. Five great years.
Yep. And if I were ever to recommend a watch, and this is to you specifically, get an Apple Watch. Get the Apple Watch 3. It's cheap, and it is phenomenal. You know. Are you into fitness much?
Not as much as I should be. I try.
Okay. So you're not a fanatic like I am, I guess. Now, keep in mind, I'm 75. On the inside, which is all I worry about, I'm probably in the best shape of my life. And I didn't ever. And I didn't start doing exercise until I was 38. So it's been 39 years, I guess, that I've been doing it. What I learned over the years is the older I get, the more I exercise until I got to 7 days a week. And it's paying off for me. So just saying.
I have 7 more years, according if I go by your.
Yeah. I started at 36. And back then, I was probably exercising 3 days a week. Rita could tell you because I was with her back then. And as I got into my 40s, I started going to 4 days a week and 5 days a week. Now, I also started going to the gym a lot. For about 5 years, we went to Bally's a lot. And I hated going to the gym. I hated getting dressed to go to the gym, driving to the gym, coming back from the gym. So I started buying my own equipment. Well, after 15 years, I now had my own gym. I didn't have to go anywhere. So that's what I would recommend for everybody. Because if there's one thing I hate doing, it's going to the gym.
Get your own gym, guys.
Exactly. Now, it took me 15 years to do it, but I got it done. And I started with a cheap exercise bike. Well, now I have the same bike that you find in the gyms, and I have 2 exercise bikes in the house. So it's just a matter of doing what you can a little at a time. And if you start out buying cheap stuff, that's fine. But as you go along, you just buy better stuff, and eventually you have a really good gym. Most of the fitness bike that I have, the upright fitness bike, I've had that thing Life Fitness. I've had that thing about 22, 23 years. Of course, it's guaranteed for life. My Horizon bike, my recumbent, I've had that about 5 years. And some of my weights, like those block weights that you see going around behind me, they're guaranteed for life. So, you get good stuff as you can afford it. That's all. So
hey, you have a question from Big House Productions. He's asking how your Moto style is going.
Oh. Sorry, Big House. I'm so busy talking about fitness and stuff. I am loving my Moto G stylus. Got it right here. And I just, a couple of hours ago, put out some people might say a foolish comparison between night mode photos on this versus the iPhone 11. Of course, the iPhone 11 totally blows it away, but I started with 6 photos just from the Moto G stylus, and I think it has this red hue that you see in the night with the night mode on. But I think it doesn't do a bad job. And for me, I think it takes phenomenal daytime pictures. And of course, there'll be many more comparisons coming. But I think my next night comparison will again be with the iPhone 11, but with night mode turned off. Because the last picture in my video is a front-facing selfie. But of course, there's no night mode. And those pictures, I think, are pretty close. But you let me know what you think. So we got Joseph from Forbes Tech here and Big House in here. And welcome, guys. So, anyway.
I think you're forgetting one other aspect of your new phone, George.
Go ahead.
The stylus. How's the stylus?
Oh, I have to train myself to use the stylus again. I have to force myself to use it. Yeah, there it is.
You mean to try it out? Is it any good?
No, it works fine. It's not a note, if that's what you mean, but it works just fine.
Is it better than a stylo?
Oh, yes, absolutely better than the stylo, I think.
Better than the stylo. Okay.
But is the stylus with the phone better than the stylo? I don't know. But as a phone, I would say it's absolutely better than the stylo. Keep in mind, I never had the stylo, but I read a lot about it, and that's why I never had one. So just for the.
So does the Moto just for the camera. You're saying it's all so far so good.
For the camera alone, I think it's well worth the $300. That's for sure. So,
okay.
Hey, Crystal, welcome.
Does it have any other apps like take? Does the phone have like any apps that takes advantage of the stylus?
Yes.
Like, is there like a notes app? Like
when you launch, when you pull out the, see if I can show this here. Okay. When you pull it out,
he's showing us something.
It launches a small menu. The top one takes you just tap it, it takes an automatic screenshot. One will go straight into Moto's note taking. One will go straight into Google Keep. And I've forgotten what the second one does, but it's just happening. Now we're in my Google Keep, which is where I have the notes. Matter of fact, there's our notes for tonight's show. So pretty cool, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
And it works very well. I've done a lot of,
So he's liking it.
Yes, I am liking it very much. But to actually use it for note taking, I have to get myself.
Because of the camera, big house.
Yeah, it's the camera. Yeah. What's he saying? Mono decides what I agree 100%, big house. Couldn't agree with you more. Okay, got another weirdo in here. Okay. I'm not reading that comment. We'll just go on there. If there's anything nasty, then I'll have to block them. But so far, okay, we're good. All right, so we're ready to move on to our next story. And that's going to be, oh, yeah, I just threw this in here.
Oh, that's me.
Yeah, this is you. And this is about Fortnite, because if any of you remember, let me get the screen. Any of you remember last year, because I think that what Google demands from all the people who put games or anything on the Play Store is 30%, and Epic absolutely thought that was way too much money, and they refused to give Google that 30%, so they pulled their Fortnite off the Play Store. Well, they are now back.
Well, they never put it on the Play Store. They never put it on the Play Store
because they refused to pay that money. Well, I guess they've changed their mind. So this is for you. This is on TheVerge.com, and Ted, it's all yours.
They paid the game of chicken, and they blinked first.
Exactly.
But yeah, so Epic gives into Google and releases Fortnite on the Play Store by Nick Stat. This is The Verge. Epic Games has released its Battle Royale hit, Fortnite, through the official Play Store on Android, 18 months after releasing the game as a third-party software downloadable outside of Google's official mobile app marketplace. Epic says it's doing so because Google puts third-party software at a disadvantage by warning users of potential security issues that may not exist and characterizing any software not issued through the Play Store as malware.
Let me interrupt. But the key phrase there, by warning users of potential issues that may not exist, which also says then they may exist. Just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I think that's a good one to highlight because, how after 18 months of operating Fortnite on Android outside of the Google Play Store, we've come to a basic realization, reads Epic's statement. Google puts software downloadable outside of Google Play Store at a disadvantage through technical and business measures such as scary, repetitive security pop-ups for downloaded and updated software, restrictive manufacturer and carrier agreements and dealings, Google public relations characterizing third-party software sources as malware, and new efforts such as Google Play Protect to outright block software obtained outside the Google Play Store. For all these reasons, Epic says it's now going to release the game through an official Android channel, which means the company will now pay Google the 30% cut mandated by the Play Store for all in-app purchases. Epic CEO Tim Sweeney has been a vocal critic of both Apple's App Store and Google's Play Store, accusing both platforms of abusing their respective market positions to charge developers more than necessary. The 30% cut is a high cost in a world where game developers 70% must cover all the cost of developing, operating, and supporting their games. Sweeney said in August 2018 when Epic first released Fortnite as an installer app anyone on Android could download from a mobile web browser. On mobile platforms that are open like Android, 30% is disproportionate to the cost of services these stores perform, such as payment processing, download bandwidth, and customer service. Sweeney's sentiments do not appear to have changed despite Epic releasing Fortnite through the Play Store. We hope that Google will revise its policies and business dealings in the near future so that all developers are free to reach and engage in commerce with customers on Android and in the Play Store through open services, including payment services that can compete on a level playing field. In December, Epic tried to get an exemption to the 30% cut, calling the fee illegal for platforms with more than 50% market share. Epic released Fortnite through the iOS App Store in 2018 under the assumption that bypassing Apple's stringent policies and security restrictions was not a possibility. Epic has been paying Apple the required fees, the argument being that iOS is more restrictive than Android, but also far smaller in global market share. Epic doesn't seek a special exemption for ourselves. Rather, we expect to see general change to smartphone industry practices in this regard, the company said in a statement at the time regarding Android. We have asked that Google not enforce its publicly stated expectation that products distributed through Google Play uses Google's payment services for in-app purchase. Google, however, has denied the request, writing in response, Google Play has a business model and billing policy that allow us to invest in our platform and tools to help developers build successful businesses while keeping users safe. We welcome any developers that recognizes the value of Google Play and expect them to participate under the same terms as other developers. More recently, Epic has turned what was once called the Fortnite Launcher, the software that allowed Epic to bypass the Play Store, into the Epic Games app, with the intention of turning it into a mobile counterpart to the company's PC game marketplace. The app is still downloadable from Epic's website, where it grants access to company's cross-platform Battle Breakers RPG. It appears you can also still sideload Fortnite on Android by going to a similar link on the company's website.
Okay, so I'm probably too much of a capitalist, but to me, you knew the rules. You got the same rules as every other developer that's paying the 30%. You don't want to pay the 30%, don't go in the Play Store. Obviously, they're going to make more money in the Play Store than not paying that 30%. So,
obviously,
yeah. Now, the one thing I disagree with, where it says Epic doesn't seek a special exception for ourselves. Rather, we expect to see a general. Give me that garbage. You want to make money like every other business. So of course
exactly.
You're asking for a special exception and why would Google not give you that special exception? Because then they'd open the floodgates to everybody else who wants a special exception. So I think they're making the right move. Just pay the 30%, go make your money. That's how I see it.
Exactly. They were clearly going to make more money being in the Play Store than, having to be a sideload, find a way for the other people to sideload the apps if they didn't have a Samsung phones. Okay. Because I think Samsung Galaxy phones are the only phones that have Fortnite pre-installed, right? Or is that no?
Probably.
Did your Galaxy S20 have Fortnite on it?
No.
Oh.
As far as I know.
I really
but I never play games, so it could be there and I haven't even seen it, Yeah, let me take a quick look.
But I can't really feel sorry for Fortnite. They take other people's dances. They take other people's dances, the emoticon dance. Yeah. They take it from other people and they charge it, and they don't give any of that money to the other people that they stole that dance from. So
yeah,
I'm like,
yeah, you're an American company out to make money just like everybody else. So let it go. Pay your money, make your money. We're good. And Crystal, I put Crystal, I put your comment up here because I do think iOS is more restrictive than Android in that with Android, yes, you can put your game for sideload and you can sideload. You cannot do that with Apple. You're not sideloading anything. So in that regard, I believe it is. I believe it is more restrictive. Unless
you could actually
jailbreak,
you could.
Right?
You know, you didn't even have to jailbreak. You could have. There was another way you could get apps. It was through iTunes. If you plugged in your iPhone through iTunes, you could get apps through that way.
Okay.
But Apple killed iTunes, so
but
there's actually no way now to do it.
But that's still certainly more restrictive than Android.
Yeah, it's still, yeah, definitely now it's more restrictive. But you know, especially now with Apple killing iTunes.
And I'm still getting notifications. I got 2 of them today. Download the letters. I don't like iTunes. I have never liked iTunes, and I always say quit. So for me, I'm just see iTunes. I don't like iTunes. I've never liked it.
But yeah, that was actually the reasons why Apple killed iTunes was because it was the only way you could get apps on an iPhone without the App Store. Yeah. Yeah. And without jailbreaking. So Apple just killed it. They're like, all right.
Okay. All right. We got one.
But saying that though, I've heard that Apple does work. They worked with Apple so that for in-app purchases on the TV app, on their the Apple TV. Like if you purchase something through the Apple TV with Prime shows and stuff like that,
right?
Amazon gets all that money.
Really?
So, yeah, they don't take the 30% cut there. Okay. Also, I think it's with Netflix. Mm-hmm. I think they're working with Netflix, or there's a loophole that Netflix is doing where they get all the subscription money that you like if you subscribe through iOS on your phone, instead of Netflix found a way that they can now get all the money without Apple taking the 30% cut.
Okay, good for them.
But although personally I do feel 30% is a lot though. That's what Americans charge. That's what the American government charges companies.
Yeah, and and these people are companies. They're game makers, but they're still companies. I don't see it as prohibitive.
It's the price of 30% is too much.
No, it's the price of doing business. That's just.
Imagine if you were a software developer on Google Play or the App Store, and it was just you. You're a one-man team. You have your product that you put on the store, and you live off of that.
Fortnite is not a one-man team. I mean, come on now.
But I'm just saying, what if you had that one app that you were living off of?
If that were me, I would be going in from the day I start developing my app, knowing that at some point, if I want it on the Play Store, I'm going to have to pay 30%. I don't see that as prohibitive.
You don't think the Play Store, Google just taking 30% off, 30%, just wetting their beak? They're just wetting their beak, getting in some of your action that you're putting all that work into, and they're just counting the money for you?
As a developer, I would think this is the cost of doing business. It's the same cost with Apple. Okay. But like I say, I'm very much a capitalist. I've always been, and I probably always will be. So whatever, I believe in the old adage, when America prospers, everybody prospers. I really believe in that. Just my opinion.
So do you think that also should extend to actual companies, businesses that should just pay the 30% in taxes that America charges?
Yes. Or do what everybody else does. Find yourself a crooked politician to make a deal for you, because that's what they all do anyway. Come on, that's one thing.
Apple doesn't pay any taxes
about our system. We have a system full of a bunch of crooked politicians who I can't stand. But don't get me started there. Okay. I don't care what party.
Let's go on to the next story.
Okay, last story. This one's on me, I guess. And this is related to the story we brought up last week, where people in England were burning down 5G cell towers, a couple of even 4G towers, because they said it was causing COVID-19. And it's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. But so I found this little story saying, this was on BBC.com. COVID-19 5G theories are the most common misinformation in the entire country. So I just had to throw it in here. Unfounded theories linking COVID-19 to 5G technology are the most common example of online misinformation in the UK, an Ofcom survey suggests. The media regulator said 50% of respondents had seen some examples of misinformation during the third week of lockdown, up from 46%. So more people are believing this garbage in week one. Of those, half had seen a disproven 5G conspiracy theory, it said. There are concerns the false claims prompted people to set communication masts set on fire across the UK. These people are insane. A spokesman for industry body Mobile UK told BBC News there had been more than 50 of these arson attacks, but fewer in recent days. Claims 5G spreads coronavirus or weakens people's immune systems, making them susceptible to it, have been denounced as complete rubbish by scientists. From my own experience, this survey does not reflect reality, cybersecurity expert Graham Cluley said. A lot of people are talking about it, and a worrying number of people seem to be giving it some kind of credence. He added he worried there would be a flood of anti-vaccination conspiracy theories if and when a vaccine for coronavirus was made available. I wouldn't be a bit surprised. The proportion of those surveyed using a fact-checking website rose from 10% in the first week of the lockdown to 18% the week after, dipping to 15% in week 3. And the proportion saying they were finding it hard to determine what was true online fell from 40% to 32%. Well, that's good. Meanwhile, 97% continued to access news about COVID-19 at least once per day, although 39% of the 25 to 34-year-olds, up from 30% in the first week, said they were trying to avoid it. More of the respondents, 33%, chose the BBC as the most important source of news and information during the pandemic than any provider. So in any case, it's just that people believing this nonsense about 5G causing corona, it's just like, it's ridiculous. There's not enough 5G out there to cause anything, for one thing. These people are just insane.
Exactly.
I don't think of myself as the most sagacious person in the world, but even I'm smart enough to know that makes no sense. Come on, people.
Exactly.
Anyway, we have come to the end of our stories for this week. And as last month, I want to thank Ted for coming on with me this week, because this is Will and Mike's week off. So at the end of each month, it'll be me, and hopefully Ted will keep sticking with
us. It's always a pleasure.
Okay, and don't forget, TED Talks is his channel. It's a fairly new channel. Go over there, subscribe to him, and let's help get him built up. And I was subscribed to his old channel. He just pointed out to me tonight that I wasn't subscribed to his new channel. So now everybody's subscribed to TED Talks, and we should be good. So you want to say your good nights?
Yeah, I have a... Yeah. Actually, let's look at Big House Productions comment about the tower in that article.
Oh, okay. I know. You're afraid to walk by it, right? You won't get cancer and coronavirus as you walk by. It's unbelievable. Anyway, Big House, you made the best comments tonight. I want to thank you for that. What is this?
Yeah, you latecomer. But yeah, she came out of nowhere, but she did like her comments too.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
#Android Gal.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
But thanks everyone for coming and listening to us talk.
Yep. And next Friday, I believe Friday Night Tech Talk will be on Will's channel, at least where it should be. So that'll be on Will D next Friday at 8 o'clock. And of course, you can find me here on Mobile Geezer YouTube channel, and of course on Facebook, which we're also broadcasting on. I've got 8 people watching there, which makes me feel great. And you can also find Mobile Geezer on Instagram and Twitter. So don't Don't forget, whenever I'm broadcasting, Super Chat is open. So if you want to donate to the old man, you just feel free. Just remind you about that. So thanks for everybody.
It would make his day if you give him a Super Chat.
Absolutely. So thanks everybody
so
for watching,
happy.
and we'll be with you next week on Will's channel, and hopefully Ted will be back here with me next month. So thanks for watching, everybody, and hope everybody has a blessed weekend.
Good night, guys.
Now we've got that pregnant pause as we sign off.